He never told anyone how he made it out of those tunnels alive. Not his wife, not even the vast shrink. But 50 years later, he stands in front of a statue of a dog, scars on stone, just like the one on his heart. And at last, the jungle speaks again. Part 1 echoes in the dirt. May 2023, National Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Angel Fire. New Mexico. The wind tugged at Thomas Granger's jacket, whispering through the pines like a voice he had not heard in half a century. He stared at the statue, unable to move. Bronze had dulled with time, but the eyes still knew. Flat ears, lowered stance, ribs showing beneath tight fur. The dog looked just like he remembered, lean, silent, haunted. Jungle ghost, the plaque read. No name, no rank, no records, just those 2 words. Tom's fingers curled around the brim of his hat. He had not worn his old unit patch in years. 25th Infantry Division. Tropic lightning. The tunnel rat's insignia was stitched inside the lining. Back then, that patch meant you crawled into places no man was meant to go. Now, it just smelled like mothballs. A boy walked past with his father, holding a small American flag. The father paused, nodded once. Tom nodded back, but his eyes never left the statue. 50 years ago, he would met that dog beneath the shattered canopy of Tainan Province. It was 1968. The heat was like breathing through a sock soaked in blood. Tom was 22, 5'8", and wary just right for the job. He carried only what he could crawl with. A flashlight, a .45, a knife, and fear. Always fear. The tunnels were tight, dark, and layered with death. Rats the size of cats. Traps with poisoned bamboo spikes. Sometimes, whispers. Sometimes, screams. He would stop counting the times he should be died. On his 4th mission, something changed. He was crawling eastward, the air so thin it tasted like copper. The flashlight flickered. He paused, listening. That is when he heard it, not a rustle, not a trap click, a low growl, but not hostile. It was deep, measured, warning. He froze. Then came the movement. A shape slid from the dark ahead. Not a man, not a rat, a dog. It was large, maybe 45 pounds. Scared, one ear torn, the tail did not wag. Its ribs were visible. Tom could see the ghost of a collar around its neck. Half rotted. Maybe a scout dog once. Maybe abandoned. Maybe betrayed. It did not attack. It did not run. It just backed up slowly into the dark, then stopped. Waiting. Tom followed. Granger. You copy. Jesus. Tom, where the hell are you? The radio hissed in his ear as Tom slid out of the tunnel mouth 20 minutes later, covered in red clay and adrenaline. His co, Lieutenant Bobby Keller, stormed over, jaw clenched. "We thought you were gone. I found a dog," Tom said. "What?" Tom turned. The dog was already at the tree line, watching. Then it was gone. They called him Ghost after that. Ghost would appear before missions, silent and wild-eyed. He never barked. He did not eat from a hand. He took scraps when no one looked. But he always found Tom before every crawl, before every kill zone. And every time Ghost led him away from something. A tripwire, a trap, a patrol. He is not real. Some of the guys whispered. Then why does he bleed? Tom had snapped once, holding a bloodied rag after patching the dog's side. There were nights when Ghost slept beside him, when the monsoon rains came hard and fast, and the jungle sounded like a war all its own. Tom would press his hand into the dog's damp fur and feel the world settle. They were both ghosts, men lost in the green. Neither belonging. Now, half a century later, Tom Granger stared at the statue and thought of the last time he saw a ghost. It was February 1969. The Tet offensive had cracked the air like a thunderclap, and Tom had made a promise he could not keep. Part 2, The Things We Leave Behind. February 1969. Tai Ninh Province, Vietnam. The jungle had changed. It always did. Depending on the season, the scent of blood in the dirt, or the number of ghosts walking through it. By February, the Tet offensive had left behind the stink of gunpowder and rotting leaves. The rains had come early, turning the paths into veins of rust-colored mud. Tom Granger moved low, half crawling through the underbrush. His pack was stripped to essentials. A flashlight, spare mags, and a relic photograph folded twice, wrapped in plastic, and tucked into his breast pocket. His sister had sent it. In it, he stood with his older brother before the war, both smiling, both unaware. Now his brother was buried in a field near Chu Lai. 2 clicks south came the voice over the radio. Nenva bunkers. Tunnels confirmed. You are up. Granger. Tom did not reply. He just clicked the transmitter once affirmative and reached for the red cloth he always tied around his left boot before a tunnel job. Superstition, ritual. Whatever worked. Ghost arrived 5 minutes later, as if summoned by memory. The dog did not make a sound, did not need to. He emerged from the trees like fog. Eyes sharp, body trembling from tension or fever. His left hind leg still dragged from an old shrapnel wound Tom had never been able to properly clean. You should not be here, Tom whispered. Too hot. Ghost stared at him. Tom sighed and patted his side. Okay. Then, just one more. The entrance was barely wider than a coffin, hidden beneath a tangled mess of roots and leaves. It took Ghost to sniff it out. Tom wiped sweat from his eyes, checked the safety on his sidearm, and knelt at the edge of the dark. He did not pray. He did not breathe. He just crawled. The tunnel was tighter than usual, smelled like mildew and something worse, something old. His flashlight beam danced against wet walls. The clay was slick beneath his palms. He moved inch by inch, listening for the creak of bamboo traps, for breathing that was not his. A rat skittered past his elbow, and then he heard it. Shuffling. Human. Tom froze. Raised the .45 slowly. Another sound scraping metal. He turned off the flashlight. Blackness swallowed him, but the sound of movement grew clearer. Someone was ahead. Digging. Setting. Maybe preparing another hellish surprise for a squad that would never see it coming. Tom crept forward, blind. One hand gripped the pistol. The other felt the curve of the wall. He counted every heartbeat. Then he saw it. A flicker of red light. A cigarette. Tom surged forward. 2 shots. The tunnel screamed with echo. The body slumped. And then came the noise that paralyzed him. A child's cry. The flashlight snapped. Back on. He saw the man slumped forward, a faint radio strapped to his chest. And behind him, farther in, a boy no older than 7 shivering in the dirt. Hands tied. Tom's hand dropped. The .45 felt like stone. What the hell was this? The boy did not scream, just stared. Tom pulled his knife and moved toward him. Slowly, like approaching a wounded deer. The kid flinched as the blade sliced the rope. Then he crawled forward and threw himself against Tom's chest. Tom did not know what to do. He was not trained for this. Tunnel rats were trained to kill, not to rescue children buried in the war's gut. Footsteps. Behind him. He whirled. Ghost stood at the tunnel mouth. Ears forward. Then the dog turned, growled deep, and bolted back out into daylight. Trap. Tom muttered. Outside, the jungle exploded. Mortar fire. Then bursts. The Enva had circled around. Tom scooped the boy into his arms and crawled backwards through the shaft, heart pounding like a war drum. Ghost was nowhere in sight. He broke out of the tunnel and hit the ground hard. The boy screamed, clung to him. Contact. Contact. Someone yelled from behind a tree line. Lut. Keller waved frantically, motioning to the chopper above. Go. Tom ran. Bullets slapped the dirt around his boots. But he did not see Ghost. Not then. Not ever again. Later, in the medevac tent, someone handed him water. Someone else took the boy, who was shaking and mute. Tom sat there, mud caked in his ears, staring at his boots. The red cloth was gone, and so was Ghost. That night, Tom could not sleep. He lay on his cot, listening to the distant pop of firecrackers from a village celebration, or maybe it was gunfire. Either way, it echoed through him like memory. He never told anyone what happened in the tunnel. Not about the boy, not about Ghost, not about the fact that, right before that last mission, he would whisper a promise into the dog's ear. When this is over, I will take you home. But war does not keep promises. It only keeps scars. Part 3, The Dog Doesn't Leave You. April 1970. Kansas City, Missouri. Tom Granger came home in spring. The trees had bloomed early that year, pink blossoms clinging to branches like they would never seen war. But Tom did not see flowers. He saw camouflage. He saw movement where there was none. He ducked at fireworks. He flinched at car backfires. His war had not ended, it had only changed locations. His father picked him up from the bus depot. The man said little, just clapped him on the back and drove home with the windows down. The same baseball glove still sat on the back seat. Nothing had changed. And yet, everything had. Tom did not talk much. Not about the tunnels. Not about Ghost. Especially not about Ghost. He dreamed about him, though. Dreamed about the way the dog would appear without sound, like fog unrolling over the jungle floor. Dreamed about those eyes yellow, ringed with pain and something more. Ghost was not just a dog. He was the only soul in that hellhole who seemed to know what Tom carried inside. And now he was gone. Tom tried school. It did not stick. Crowds made him sweat. Professors sounded like static. He could not sit still in enclosed rooms. So he worked nights at a grain mill and slept through the day, kept to himself, learned to live small. He told people he was fine. Most did not ask twice. Except Mary. She worked the front office of the mill. Part-time. Auburn hair. Laughed like a bell. She asked questions no one else had the patience to wait for answers to. One day, she noticed the patch on his duffel bag. Tropic lightning. She said, my cousin was in the 25th too. He was in Q-Che. You. Tie 9, Tom said quietly. Tunnel rat. He nodded. She did not flinch. She did not smile either. Just said, want to grab coffee sometime? He did not say yes, but the next day, he showed up anyway. They married in 72. By then, Tom had stopped talking in his sleep. Mostly. But he still kept the photograph from the war in his wallet. Not of the tunnels, not of Mary, not of the squad. Just a single shot he would manage to take with a disposable camera. Ghost, standing just outside the tree line, backlit by morning fog. Scared. Silent. His only friend from that place. Mary saw it once. You never talk about him. Tom nodded. Some things you do not talk about. She waited. He did not offer more, but she never brought it up again. Years passed. Tom became a father. A mechanic. A man who watched the 4th of July from the porch instead of the park. But the ghost remained. Sometimes, He would catch himself calling the family dog by that name, even when her name was Maggie. Sometimes, when storms rolled through, he would wake up breathless, swearing he would heard paws on the floorboards, and every so often, he would drive out to a local shelter and just sit, looking for something, or someone. He did not know which. In 1993, a letter came from a boy, grown now, a Vietnamese man named Min. The return address was San Diego. He would track Tom down through the Red Cross records. Said he remembered the man who saved him. Said he remembered the dog too. You called him Ghost. Len wrote, he saved us both. Tom read that letter 4 times. Then he cried for the first time in 20 years. In 1995, he and Mary visited the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Didexi. He found his brother's name, ran his fingers over the letters like Braille. A priest walked past, offering a prayer. Tom did not pray. He just whispered, I am sorry. But he was not talking to his brother. And then, in 2020, the email came. A local veteran group in New Mexico was fundraising for a memorial, not for men, for dogs. Scout dogs, sentry dogs, tunnel dogs, all the ghosts that never made it home. The director asked if Tom had ever served with one. He stared at the screen for 10 full minutes. Then typed, yes, his name was Ghost. I do not know if he was ever official. He just found me. He attached the photo. They wrote back 2 weeks later. They were naming a statue after him, after Ghost, and they asked Tom to come. So now, here he stood, before the statue, before the past, before everything he never dared speak aloud. Tom pulled the photograph from his jacket pocket, held it up to the bronze face. They would matched it perfectly, down to the torn ear, the narrowed eyes, the scar over the ribs. He exhaled, hey, boy. He whispered. You waited. His hand trembled. He reached out, touched cold bronze, and for just a second, he swore he felt warmth. Part 4, A Promise Buried in the Earth. May 2023. Angel Fire. New Mexico. The wind picked up, soft and dry, carrying pine and something else ash. Maybe, or memory. Tom Granger kept his hand on the statue's shoulder, as if Ghost might lean back into him. But the dog did not move. Couldn't he? Bronze does not breathe. Still, Tom lingered. Other visitors came and went around him, families with little flags, a pair of bikers with POW patches, a young man in uniform standing stiff as guilt. But Tom remained rooted. The plaque below the statue was simple, just the dog's silhouette cast in profile, and the words, in honor of the ones who walked beside us and never came home. He read it over and over again. Beside us. That is what Ghost had done. Through mud, through gunfire, Through the silence of a tunnel so deep it swallowed prayers, a woman's voice broke the spell. "Ma. Granger." He turned. She was maybe 35. Brown eyes. Soft-spoken. Holding a visitor's badge and a folded pamphlet. Her name tag read Emma Lou. Memorial historian. "I am sorry to interrupt," she said gently, "but I believe this is yours." She held out a small, aged envelope. Tom hesitated, then took it. His name was scrawled on the front in blocky letters. He looked up. "What is this?" It was part of a bundle we received from a Vietnamese family last year. Artifacts found after the war. Someone recognized the dog in your photo. They said the American who saved their son had one just like him. Tom's breath caught. "Min?" he asked. Emma smiled. "Yes, he passed 2 years ago, but he left this for you." Tom sat down on the bench beside the statue. His hands trembled as he opened the envelope. Inside was a photo, faded and yellowing. It showed a small village, war-scared but standing. In the corner of the frame, barely visible, was a dog, thin, scared, watching the camera. And it was him, Ghost, still alive, long after the war. There was a note with the photo. "He came to our village after the fighting. Always quiet. Always watching. We fed him what little we could. He never let anyone close except the children. He stayed until the day he died. We buried him under the banyan tree. I carved his name into a rock. Ghost. I knew you would want to know he kept his promise. He went home. Just not the one you meant. Min." Tom sat there a long time. His eyes were glass, his chest hollow and full at once. He would pictured Ghost dying in the jungle, alone. He would carry that weight like a second spine. But this was something else. Ghost had lived. He would found people, protected them. He would kept watch, even when Tom could not. Emma sat beside him. "I think he saved more lives than we will ever know," she said. Tom nodded. "Funny," he said, voice rough. He never barked. Not once. But I still hear him. Even now. Emma looked at him, something unspoken in her eyes. "Would you like to visit his grave?" Tom blinked. "Is that possible?" "We think so," she said. "Min's family still owns the land. They have invited you. Said it would mean a lot." Tom stared at the statue again, at the dog frozen in time, at the silence carved into metal. "I never got to say goodbye," he whispered. Emma placed a hand gently on his arm. "Then maybe it is time to go back." That night, Tom packed a small bag, 2 sets of clothes, his old service cap, and a faded photograph of a dog standing alone in the morning fog. He placed it in his wallet, next to a folded red cloth. Part 5, The Banyan Tree, July 2023. Near Tai Nine, Vietnam. The plane ride had been long. The roads after it, longer. Tom Granger had not been back in Vietnam in over 50 years, yet everything felt achingly familiar. The heat pressing like a hand against his chest, the smell of damp earth and fish sauce in the air, the constant low hum of motorbikes and distant radios. But this time, he was not here as a soldier. He was not here to crawl through tunnels or chase ghosts. He was here to bury something he had been carrying for decades. They reached the village just before dusk. It was small. Tin roofs, wooden walls, children kicking a deflated soccer ball in the dust, chickens scattered as their van pulled up. An old woman watched from the doorway, her hands folded over a cane. A shrine glowed in the corner of the courtyard, incense drifting lazily skyward. A younger man stepped forward to greet him. Mid-30s. Lean build. He bowed slightly. "You are Mayor Granger?" he asked, his English careful but clear. Tom nodded. I am Bao. Min was my uncle. He spoke of you often." Tom swallowed hard. "He saved me, more than once." Bao smiled. He said the same. "Come. We have something to show you." They led him through a narrow footpath behind the village. Bamboo groves whispered in the wind. A stream trickled beside them, and then the trees opened up into a clearing, where a massive banyan tree spread its arms like a cathedral over the land. Beneath it was a small, weather-worn stone, carved into it in 2 languages. Ghost, faithful to the end. Tom dropped to one knee. The tree's roots curled like fingers around the grave. He reached out, brushing dirt and moss from the stone. He did not speak at first, just breathed. Then, softly, "I kept your photo all these years, but you found a home." Bao placed a tin box beside the stone. "My uncle left this. He said it was for you." Tom opened it slowly. Inside was a worn leather collar. The metal tag on it had rusted almost to nothing. But on the underside, faintly scratched into the leather, were the initials, Tega. Tom blinked fast. "That was mine," he whispered. "I cut it from my boot. I think he kept it." Bao said, so he would not forget who he belonged to. Tom sat there for a long while. The sun dipped lower. Shadows grew long across the jungle floor. He spoke quietly, like a man speaking to the wind. "I always meant to bring you home. Thought about smuggling you onto a chopper. Had it all figured out, too. But that last day, I ran, and I did not look back." He wiped his eyes with the back of his sleeve. "I never said goodbye, so here I am." He pulled the red cloth from his pocket, folded it slowly, laid it on the stone. "I did not keep my promise," he said. "But you did. You always did." That night, the village held a small ceremony. Not formal, just candles. Shared food. A prayer whispered in 2 languages. Tom did not understand the words, but he understood their meaning. Forgiveness, gratitude, memory. Before he left, he asked Bao a question. How long did he live after the war? Bao smiled. Many years, longer than most dogs. No one knew how. He walked slowly, slept often, but he watched over the village, especially the children. Tom's chest tightened. He stayed with men until the end. Bao said, then one day, he walked to the tree, lay down, and never woke up. Tom stared at the sky. No stars yet, just the pale burn of dusk. Sounds about right, he said. As they returned to the village, a little girl walked beside Tom. She pointed back toward the banyan tree. Kwang Thi Kang, she asked softly. Bao translated. She says, did you see him? Tom blinked. See who? The dog under the tree. Tom stopped. Looked back. Only shadows now. Only wind. But for just a moment, he thought he heard a footfall. Soft. Four-legged. Familiar. Part 6, The Return Flight. July 2023. Madeira. Somewhere over the Pacific. Tom Granger sat by the window, hands folded tight over his lap. The hum of the jet engines filled the cabin, steady and indifferent. He did not speak. The world below was lost in clouds, and for once, he did not mind not knowing exactly where he was. In his carry-on bag beneath the seat were 3 things. A photograph of Ghost taken by Mint's village. The rusted leather collar, wrapped in cloth. A pouch of red soil from under the banyan tree. Mary had always teased him for being sentimental. But this was not sentiment. This was something deeper. This was proof that he had not imagined it. That the dog had been real. That he had been real. That what happened in the jungle mattered. The flight attendant offered him coffee. He accepted it black. He never took cream anymore. Too many years of drink it straight from tin mugs. Veteran, the attendant asked softly, seeing the patch on his sleeve. Yeah. Thank you for your service. Tom gave a small nod. He would heard those words many times, but only recently had he begun to let them mean something. He reached into his coat and pulled out the photograph of Ghost again, looked at it under the cabin light. There he was, scared, quiet, staring straight at the lens, as if he would known someone would need to remember. Tom's thoughts drifted back to the tunnels, to the scent of wet clay and gun oil, to the weight of the .45 in his hand. He remembered the last thing he would said before climbing into the dark. Stay close, Ghost, just this one last time. And the dog had done just that, even when Tom could not return the favor. He thought about Min, the boy he carried from the tunnels, now a man with a family, who'd gone on to build a life. Tom had always wondered whether it had been worth it, the crawling, the killing, the years afterward where sleep never came easy. But now he knew it was because a child had survived. A village had been protected. and a dog had kept watch long after the war had ended. Somewhere over the Pacific, Tom closed his eyes. He dreamed again. This time, he was not in a tunnel. He was standing in a wide, open field. Yellow grass underfoot, blue sky above, and Ghost was running toward him whole, strong, young again. No limp, no scars, just joy. And when the dog reached him, he did not stop. He leaped, gently, and pressed his head into Tom's chest. The warmth of it filled him like sunlight. He woke with a jolt when the wheels hit the runway. The captain's voice came on over the speakers. "Welcome to Los Angeles. Local time is 3:26. Tom did not mind the layover. He had nowhere to be in a hurry. The only one who waited for him all these years had already said goodbye. At the baggage carousel, he paused, opened his carry-on, and checked the pouch of soil. Still there. He planned to scatter it on a small patch of land behind his home, under a maple tree. No stone. No plague. Just earth. And memory. As he stepped outside into the heat, a stray dog trotted past the terminal. Mutt. Dusty coat, same lean build. It paused, looked at him for just a second, then it was gone. Tom smiled. "Still following me, huh?" He murmured. Part 7, The Yard Watcher, August 2023. Independence, Missouri. Tom Granger stood barefoot in the backyard, early light spreading across the grass like a quiet hymn. In his hand was a ceramic cup of black coffee. In the other, a pouch of red soil from Tie 9. He moved slowly now. The knees were not what they used to be. Neither were the dreams. But since returning from Vietnam, something had shifted. He slept better. He even laughed a little more. The nightmares had not vanished, but they no longer ended in the tunnel. Now, they ended under a banyan tree. He found a spot beneath the old maple tree, near where their old retriever Maggie had once loved to dig. Kneeling carefully, Tom loosened the earth. The soil here was dark and soft, so different from the red clay he had carried home in a Ziploc bag tucked inside his jacket. He opened the pouch, poured it gently into the hole, and let it settle like ash. Then he pressed his hand into the dirt. "Thought you should see where I live," he whispered. He stayed there for a while, eyes closed, the sun warming his face. That afternoon, he found something odd, a trail of paw prints, too large for a cat, too narrow for a raccoon. They circled the maple once, then vanished toward the fence. Tom stared at them, not moving. Later that night, he left a bowl of water outside the back porch. Didn't he say a word to Mary? Didn't he need to? By midweek, the water bowl was half empty. On Thursday morning, it was dry and there were muddy prints on the steps. Tom knelt beside them, pressed his hand beside one. Same size. Same shape. His voice caught in his throat. "All right," he said softly. "You win." That weekend, he went to the shelter. He had not stepped inside since before Maggie passed. It still smelled the same bleach. Biscuits. Hope. The woman behind the counter looked up as he entered. "Looking for someone?" she asked. "Not sure," Tom said, "but I think he might be looking for me." She smiled. "That happens more often than you would think." He walked the rows slowly. Some barked. Some paced. Some pressed against the gates like prisoners. But one dog just sat. Quiet. Watching. Lean. Dust-colored. Scar across one eye. He did not wag. He did not growl. He just stared. Tom knelt outside the gate. "Hey." He whispered, "You do not happen to believe in second chances, do you?" The dog did not move, but his ears twitched. Then, after a pause, he stood up and took one step forward. That was enough. The shelter named him Shadow. Tom called him something else when no one was around. Ghost. Mary raised an eyebrow when he brought the dog home. "You sure about this?" she asked. Arms crossed. Tom scratched the dog's ears. "Yeah, I think we are both a little beat up, but we will make do." She smirked. "Well, at least he does not bark." Tom smiled. "Exactly." That night, Ghost lay curled by the back door. Tom sat nearby, a book in his lap, but unread. He looked out at the yard, toward the maple tree, toward the patch of ground where foreign soil now mingled with Missouri. Dirt. "Welcome home," he said, more to the wind than the dog. But the dog's eyes opened, just for a moment, and Tom swore. He understood. Part 8, The Vets Parade. September 2023. Independence. Missouri. They asked him to walk in the parade. Tom had said no the first time. Said he did not do crowds. Didn't he do medals or flags or men shouting into microphones? That part of his life, he told himself, was already folded and put away like his old uniform, pressed between decades. But then he looked at Ghost. The dog sat quietly by the back door, watching him like always. He did not tilt his head. He did not whine, but his eyes said everything. Some memories are meant to be walked through, not around. So Tom called them back, said yes. The morning of the parade was cool, clear. Tom wore a simple windbreaker with his unit patch stitched on the chest. He had not worn it in years. It still fit barely. Ghost trotted at his side on a short leash. His gait was steady now, stronger than when he would first come home from the shelter. Tom had fed him well, given him time, given him peace, just like Ghost had once given him. They lined up near the courthouse. rows of veterans in mismatched jackets and old dress blues, gold star mothers holding framed photographs, a group of high school kids with snare drums tapping nerves awake. Someone handed Tom a small American flag. He accepted it quietly. "Hey," a man said beside him. "What is your dog's name?" Tom thought for a second. "Ghost," he said. "He was there with me, in a way." The man just nodded. "Then I guess he belongs here too." The parade began. They moved slow. The crowd was small, mostly families with kids waving flags and candy tossed from fire trucks. Tom kept his eyes forward, focused on each step, on the feel of the leash in his hand, on the sound of ghost paws against the pavement. But then he heard it. A boy could not be older than 6 shouted from the sidewalk. "Look, Mommy, that dog's a hero." Tom froze, only for a second. He looked toward the boy, smiled, and nodded. After the parade, someone from the local paper stopped him. "Sir, I would love a quote for tomorrow's piece. Can I ask what made you come out today?" Tom looked down at Ghost. The dog looked up at him, and for once, Tom did not hesitate. "I had a friend once," he said. "Saved my life more than once. Never asked for a thing. Most people did not believe he was real." He paused. "But I do, and I figured, it is time I walked for both of us." The reporter scribbled it down. Tom did not care if she used it. He would already said it out loud. And that was enough. Back at home, Ghost stretched out in the living room. Belly full, legs sprawled in lazy confidence. Tom dropped onto the couch and kicked off his shoes. Mary came in with a cup of tea. Set it in front of him. "So," she said, "how'd it feel?" "Strange," Tom admitted. "Good strange." She looked at the dog. "He was proud of you." Tom looked over. Ghost was asleep, but his tail twitched once, gently, and Tom just nodded. That night, he dreamed again, not of tunnels, not of fire, but of a trail winding through an old jungle sun filtering down in golden beams, and a dog walking beside him. No leash, no fear, just 2 old souls moving forward, one step at a time. Part 9, Letters Never Sent. October 2023. Independence, Missouri. The first frost came early. Tom Granger sat at the kitchen table, a spiral notebook open in front of him. The lines were neat, untouched. His pen hovered, then dropped. Ghost lay near the heater vent, curled like a comma in the sentence of the room. The warmth made him snore. Softly, Tom watched him for a while before turning back to the paper. He had written hundreds of letters during the war, most of them in his head. Letters he never mailed. Letters to his brother, who never came home. Letters to the boys in his squad, now scattered like ash. And one, always one, to the dog who had no address. Now, at 77, he decided to write it anyway. Just once. Not for the male, but for the man he used to be. Dear Ghost, I do not know if dogs understand time, but I reckon 50-some years is long enough to make this overdue. I owe you more than I can say. You were never loud, never asked anything of me. You just showed up, again and again, in places where nothing living was supposed to be. You guided me through hell without barking once. You led me away from traps, toward light, and when I broke my promise, when I left without you, you still did not leave me. You stayed, protected that village, raised a child who grew into a good man. You did not come home with me, but you became someone's home. That is more than most of us can say. I wish I would held on to you tighter. Wish I would said goodbye. But here's the truth I have only just learned. The dog does not leave the man. The man just takes longer to come back. And I came back. Ghost, I came back. I finally found you. And somehow, I think you have found me, too. Love, Tom. He folded the letter, slid it into an old ammo can where he kept bits of the past, a ribbon, a Zippo lighter, a piece of tunnel map. And now, a letter written far too late. Then he stood and walked to the porch. Ghost followed, silent as ever. The evening air was crisp. The maple tree had shed most of its leaves. The patch of soil from Vietnam sat undisturbed beneath it. Tom lowered himself into the porch chair and let out a long breath. He reached down, scratched behind Ghost's ears. I think, he said, we have got a little peace now. Ghost looked up at him, licked his hand once, then rested his head on Tom's boot. The sky was clear. No helicopters. No thunder. Just stars. Tom looked up at them, blinking through the years, and for the first time since 1969, he felt light. Part 10, The Ones Who Wait. November 2023. Independence. Missouri. The air was cold and dry, the kind of quiet morning where even the birds seemed hesitant to sing. Tom Granger sat alone on the porch with a blanket over his knees, coffee steaming in a chipped mug beside him. The maple tree out back was bare now, its branches like the ribs of a sleeping giant against the pale sky. Ghost was not at his feet. Not yet. He was still in the house, sleeping longer these days. His steps had slowed, his breath had grown shallower. But the light in his eyes, it never dimmed. Some things in this world stay quiet right up till the moment they leave, and then their silence echoes forever. That morning, Tom had found the dog curled by the hearth, paws tucked under, chest rising slow and easy. He did not want to disturb him. But now, as the wind picked up and scattered dry leaves across the yard, he heard the soft pads on the porch steps. Ghost came out, dragging a little. He lay down beside Tom without a sound. I was thinking, Tom said. Maybe it is not about how we go. Maybe it is about how we wait. Ghost did not move, but his tail gave a faint thump. Tom reached down and laid his hand across the dog's back. "I think I was always waiting for you," he whispered. The days passed like slow river stones. Thanksgiving came. The kids visited. Mary made her famous cranberry pie. Ghost got a slice of turkey and lay by the fire, tail wagging in sleep. But on the morning of December 1st, Tom woke up to stillness. Not the dangerous kind he remembered from war. This was different. He found Ghost by the hearth again, curled, peaceful, gone. They buried him beneath the maple tree. Tom did it himself, quietly. No ceremony, just the red soil, still faintly rich with the scent of the faraway jungle, and a piece of cloth, that same red strip from long ago, folded and laid across the dog's back. He carved a small stone himself. Ghost. He waited. That was all. The following spring, something strange happened. Wildflowers bloomed early under the maple tree, just under the patch where Ghost was laid to rest. No one had planted them, but there they were. Tom sat on the porch and watched them sway. A family of sparrows had nested in the branches above. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, when the wind passed just right, he swore he could hear soft footsteps on the floorboards. Not loud, not fearful, just familiar. One afternoon, Tom got a letter from a museum in Kansas City. They were building a small exhibition about war dogs. Someone had heard his story from the Angel Fire Memorial. They asked for Ghost a scholar. He thought about it, then wrote back, "The collar stays with me, but the story, that belongs to everyone." In his final years, Tom began speaking at schools and libraries. Not often, but enough. He never called himself a hero. He never spoke of medals, but he always brought one photo, a scared dog, standing in fog. And he always said the same thing. He was never trained, never ordered, never claimed by any army. But he found me in a place where men disappeared, and he walked me back toward the light. Tom passed away in his sleep in the summer of 2029. His wife found him with the same photo on his nightstand, his hand resting gently on it. And just outside the window, under the maple tree, the wildflowers bloomed again. Bright, quiet, loyal. The end.